That's your one, Joe. Well, we're right here in the depths of winter. We're at my home, something a little bit different for a change, and we're going to have a proper catch up, a look back, a reflective look back at the last year and what I've been up to and what's happened over this strangest of years. And I'm going to take you right back to this time last year. We're in December, as I say, and December is a time that I always try and catch up with good friends, old friends, little Christmas socials, that type of thing. Go and fish waters that I'd never normally fish. And that's exactly what happened this time last year with my good friend Si Bater. We decided to go down to one of the local day ticket waters, have a nice get together, some good food, a few beers, catch up on what each other's been doing and what have you, and just have a good time. You know, it's the festive season. It's time to, you know, take your foot off the gas a little bit and have a bit of a break from all the seriousness of your campaign fishing and what have you. So yeah, always good fun with Si, and yeah, I'll let you see what goes on a Christmas social.
Right, what we got here then tonight, Si?
Right, got brown stew chicken.
Oh.
Chicken, ginger, spring onion, chilli, yeah, said ginger, all the spices. Got the full do. You got brown off the chicken first.
Yeah, slow cook.
Yeah, slow and slow.
Right.
Right, get me an old.
Caribbean favourite.
Oh, mine, this is one of our big favourite. And we got rice and peas with it as well.
Oh, just the job. Perfect. Look at that.
It's like...
Oh.
Right, you hungry?
Oh yeah, you know. 6 mince pies ain't going to do it for me today, mate, that's for sure. Not after all the excitement of this afternoon.
Oh,
Bubbling
I can't believe
and fizzing
no.
and sheeting up in the middle of December.
It's bizarre.
Jesus.
And how many to show for our old troubles?
Zilch.
Not yet.
Nothing.
But
Zero.
If we get a bite now, it'll spoil it.
Oh, it'll spoil it. We don't want one now.
No, not now, not during this.
I'm quite happy to wait till breakfast time. Well,
Yeah,
after breakfast
about
time
8
tomorrow.
o'clock.
About 8 o'clock. That'll be perfect.
That'll
But
be
if
perfect.
one comes in the middle of the night, well, it just ruin everything.
Yeah. And cook it. And dinner time.
Yeah, we don't want anything at dinner time. We don't want a liner or nothing.
Nothing. And it's drizzling, so I don't want that
We
either.
just want beer,
Yeah.
slow cooked chicken,
Yeah.
rice and peas,
And then we've got trifles for
and
pudding.
then trifles. Oh, marvellous.
Wash down with a few glasses of beer.
Yeah. We've had the 1664. What are we going to have now?
IPA on me drinking.
IPA. Green King.
Nice.
Perfect. Lovely. Bit drizzly out there.
Oh, look at it. But they're out, I say they're out there. I think we ain't far off the money where they are.
I think we've got a good chance tonight. Tail end of the new moon.
Yeah, it is as
Fish
well.
are active. What is it, 10 degrees?
Oh,
12
yeah,
degrees?
definitely. That was this morning,
Something
6
like
o'clock
that.
this morning. Yeah, it's proper, wasn't it? You know, lovely. And we're on the coast pretty much as well, wasn't it? So, just digging out the chicken. That is all goodness. That's vegetable matter.
We've got to live properly on the bank at this time of
This
year,
is when-
especially
yeah,
at
this
the
time of
Christmas
year.
social. Makes it even more special.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of chicken there.
Happy days.
That's all the chicken.
Right.
Right, that's that. Brown the chicken off. Oh, that day ticket heaven, man.
Winter day ticket.
Winter day heaven.
We're loving it. Funny, isn't it?
Right, it's not her.
You know, Christmas special.
Right, the last knocking.
Yeah.
Doing it.
As soon as that old social was finished, I had a really exciting little mission to go on, and that was to go and pick up my new puppy, Percy. He's a little lurcher. Jim, obviously, was getting really old, We'd lost our other dog, and I wanted a little companion for him in his old age, and I found one, and it happened to be sort of local to where this fishery was. So jumped in the old van, scooted over there, and met little Percy. He was just like 9 weeks old, tiny little black lurcher, and I was super excited, you know. Got him home and introduced him to Jim, who loved him from the off. And it was great. So it sort of added a great deal of you know, something to that winter period going forward. You know, we were moving into a strange old time. Don't know if you can remember, obviously, but you know, it got to that period where we couldn't travel, essentially, you know, and the fishing sort of took a big knock, and we didn't know when we were going to be able to get back and get back into the whole essence of our angling. It was you know, strange times, but you know, having old Percy as a young pup gave me something to focus my attentions on over that you know, those subsequent few months. So that was a lovely thing. So it was a bit of a, you know, it was turning into a bit of a strange old year, to be honest. You know, a lot of uncertainty revolved around everything, you know. And you've got to make some hard and fast decisions about your angling when these things crop up. You know, in the past I've always been very focused, you know, almost one-track minded when it comes to sort of campaign style fishing, and you know, I'd pick a lake and fish it until I was satisfied or whatever. But you know, with everything that was going on, I knew that I had to be more open-minded about it all and look for various venues and options that maybe weren't going to be quite so busy moving forward and what have you. And you know, fortunately I had somewhere that, you know, I'd started fishing last year a little bit on and off, and you know, it's a small no publicity pit that you know, I could get to quite easily within the restrictions, days only at the time. So I did a little bit of fishing on there for a while, and you know, a lovely place, something, you know, that obviously I've you know, used and carried on as time progressed throughout this year. But going back to that spring, it was incredibly cold. You know, the spring weather just, it never seemed to want to get going. The sun was like absent a lot of the time. A lot of frosts, clear skies at night. It was brutal fishing, if I'm honest. But you know, that's the way it goes. And eventually those travel restrictions got lifted, and I had a ticket burning a bit of a hole in my pocket since the previous year, for a lovely old estate lake up in the Berkshire area called Wasing Estates. I've done a few sessions in the prior autumn. I was sort of really gagging to get back there, if I'm honest, just to you know, be able to rock up at a lake, set the bivvy up, get some cooking gear out, and enjoy the first moments of spring proper waking up. You know, I wanted to be there when the grebes were starting to mate and the birds were singing the old dawn choruses and what have you. And my first trip up there was like that. You know, there was a bit of sun and it was quite nice weather.
Might as well be the middle of bloody January, not the middle of April. Tents are showing anyway. I don't see any rolling about. Not seen a carp yet. A few tufters about in this bay. No, they're not on my baits, they're definitely on remnants of what's been left over from the weekend. That's what we're up against everywhere now. Lakes are so busy, even the syndicate waters are getting hammered because everyone wants to be out, obviously. Not surprising. the best times of year to be out. Can't say I ain't wishing it was a little bit warmer though. You expect the odd frost, but Jesus, it's like 4 days on the trot now with -3, -4 at night. Snow yesterday morning. Yeah, mad. All part of the puzzle though. Cool, when it does come, it's going to be like a tropical heat wave. It's going to feel like one anyway. It's been a long, grey, wet winter. We need solar power. Come on. Look at the old rascal. Morning, Jim. I'm gonna go back to sleep. It's very frosty out here. But if there's one time of year where you really need to be on your toes, it's the spring. It's now. The fish are so mobile. It's a joke. There's no real weed beds yet to hold them up. They're just looking for the warmest water, the best bits of sun, comfort, cleaning themselves up, getting the lice off, leeches, and preparing themselves for their annual ritual. So I wouldn't say food was the biggest thing on their minds just yet. Not here anyway, they haven't quite got to that stage yet. As I say, it's a very deep, deep lake. God, look at that. Number 1 going down the hatch. Number 2 in the pan. Oh, lovely. Here comes number 2. You might be asking yourselves why am I cooking my breakfast in the back of my van? Well, the simple answer to that question is that I'm on what could possibly be thought of as almost like a retirement pit. By that I mean you can drive all the way round and park up behind the swims. It's a beautiful old estate lake, but yeah, you can park behind your swim. I don't sort of fish out of the van, if you like. I'm fishing under a brolly and all that, so it feels like you're carp fishing. But yeah, it's pretty convenient, put it that way. I only get out of the van exactly what I need to get fishing. The rest of it stays put away in here, so if I do need to move, everything's pretty quick. Just got to wind the rods in, fold the bed up, and we're away. So yeah, super convenient. I haven't fished a lake like this for a long time. A few of my mates are taking the piss out of me, saying that it's the retirement pit. But yeah, it might be I might be here till I retired. The way the fish are going at the moment, it's pretty slow. That'll change. Anyway, let's finish my breakfast. Don't like coffee, do you? Nah. First tea. Where's your Zimmer frame? Hey? Hey? Give me grief, I'm supposed to be watching the water. And I remember driving up the motorway the following week, and in blizzard conditions, there was snow falling,
It was ridiculous. I remember opening those gates to the lake, driving on there was no one else about, obviously. You could barely see the opposite bank. Such was, you know, the conditions. It was horrendous. I was thinking, this can't be spring, surely. Anyway, I remember parking my old van up on quite a good viewing point. I could see both ends of the lake. And crazily enough, I actually saw a carp. And you know, that got me motivated, as you can imagine. But you know, that session came. I did a couple of nights. The lake had started to get busy by this point, and over the coming weeks, I dropped back onto my no publicity pit, and I kept in touch with a couple of the lads on the lake, and it just sort of transpired that the fish were held up in this one area. There was a bit of a bum fight for the swim, obviously. That was the only swim doing the bites, and I just didn't really fancy getting involved in all that. So I made my decision there and then to carry on the little pit, which hadn't done a bite by this point. Very, very low stock, only 8 carp really in the lake that you're fishing for. So it was never going to be an easy option, but it was fairly quiet fishing, which is exactly what I was after at the time. You know, from all the feedback I was getting from around the country, most lakes were absolutely rammed out, getting battered. And I just wanted to sort of retreat from all that, if I'm honest. So I fished right up until the start of the summer, really, on this little pit, and you know, running into the first really, really warm phase. The lake had done one bite, and I'd seen the big un like a couple of times, and I sort of put quite a bit of pressure on, hoping that capture was going to come my way. But unfortunately, it didn't for me. But a good mate, he caught that carp, a lovely, you know, real proper old English scaly one, a big one as well. I won't mention who it is, but you know who you are. Well done. That was a mega capture, and well deserved. So that fish coming out sort of freed me up a little bit for the summer and the forthcoming film projects I had sort of booked in with Thinking and Sticky. And the first one that sort of was planned in on the calendar was a little bit of a sort of producty type filming session, which coincided with a visit to the office to look at some of the new kit that they've been working on over the prior year. And the actual fishing was going to be done on a lake near Reading called Junction 12. It's run by Reading District Angling, looked after by a good friend of mine, Del. And it was a lake that I'd never visited before, so I was looking forward to it, looking forward to meeting up with the guys at the office, having a look at some of this new kit, and hopefully getting some product filming done down at the lake, and with the chance of sticking the rods out for the nights and hopefully catching the odd carp or two.
Like a brand new coin, freshly minted out of the press. Beautiful. Nice way to start the morning anyway. Thank you, mate. Let's get you back. And tell your big sister we're after her. Lovely. Where's that rope?
At the back there.
Okay. 34 on the nose. 34 on the nose.
It's bigger than that, doesn't it? I bet that's a big in the spring.
We can
You know,
see
the bottom
how
of it's
empty.
saying that one I had was like, it's like flat along the bottom, they ain't got that drop on them. That's a corker though, that is. Do, wasn't it?
Yeah. It don't half look like it.
What, the big one?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's got them two scales like
Oh,
that.
is it? Sure.
But you can see how much.
Yeah, look how hollow it is by behind his pecs and that. Shell?
Oh my god. That's just natural snails, mate.
Look at that.
Plenty of them out there, isn't there? busy as
Just masses and masses of snails. Look, it's running out of it.
busy as
Well, you're a nice old carp, you'll do.
That's it, lovely.
Put them away.
This got a big one right between us.
Yeah.
Might have another one yet.
Yeah, it's time for another one. They're out there.
That's a good ornament, they.
Pretty immaculate. Yeah, there's only my hook mark there.
Yeah, mate. Just wait.
Go for the woodsy hold. The other way and all. The old wrist, I don't know how.
Nice. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unique.
Thumbs up from Marcus. And a thumbs up from Ozzy.
Junction 12 was a really cool trip, as it goes. You know, a bit of a surprise one out of the blue, last minute type thing, but we all caught some fish, and you know, it's definitely somewhere I'd love to go back to at some point for a proper, you know, proper go. Just want to say thank you to Dell and Reading District for giving us that little opportunity to visit the lake in high summer when I know they're very busy. So realistically, we were in high summer now, and the next thing of note that I had planned in was a return to Coninbrook to shoot a film with Thinking Anglers about my time spent on that lake. I was really looking forward to it, as you can imagine, you know, reminiscing about those times. 15 odd years had gone by since you know, I'd fished that lake. And alongside that, it was, you know, it was where I started my journey with old Jim the carp dog. You know, that was where I first took him as a puppy to experience carp angling, and you know, being able to reminisce and recreate some of that atmosphere was a great thing to be able to do. That film's out now. You know, it's been incredibly well received by you guys. I received hundreds and hundreds of messages regarding that film, and in a really positive light, and you know, which is obviously really great, because it's a story about a carp that I caught a long time ago. You know, the thing about that film, which for me stands out now above all else, is that I was able to take old Jim there with me. It was where he started his journey, and it just so happens that that was his last time out angling with me. He was 14 years old, and the week after we shot that film, unfortunately, he passed away in my arms in the back garden here at my house. Very sad for me, but you know, he'd lived an amazing life, a journey of a dog that lived bulk of his life in the great outdoors on adventures with me, a great companion, and I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to all you guys that messaged me after Jim had gone, with an amazing amount of love and respect. So a big thank you from me. Yeah, moving on from that project, I had another sort of filming commitment coming up in Kent, and I like to sort of try and do as much sort of pre-planning and preparation as I can, and you know, you want these things to go well, and you know, I had an opportunity to do a quick session down at the lake before the filming trip was due, and I took that opportunity. My wife was on holiday for a week. She always, like, if it's summertime, she always loves to come down to the lake once or twice a year and just have a chill out session with me, and we booked it in, and yeah, that trip was a true red letter trip. It was my first trip out fishing with Percy, and my first trip out fishing without Jim, and it was a trip to remember.
Well, it's a proper moody old morning this morning. But all paid off. Got one in the net. Missed the take, it was absolutely pouring down, so obviously the camera stayed in the bag, so didn't get any early morning footage unfortunately, but hey ho. Right hand rod rattled off. Got a lovely linea in the net, so I'm going to get her out and I'll show you what she looks like. Hoping for another one. Rod's back on the spot. Only fishing the 2 rods. It's quite a tight spot and there's not really anywhere else that I want to put a rod, and it just get in the way. It's really quite weedy out there now, so yeah. Anyway, let's have a look at this fish. Right. Absolute corker, that one. One for the future, that's for sure. Oh. Alright. Well chuffed with him. Lovely job. He's getting back. Alright. Nice. do, wouldn't it? Have a nice Milton Common. So, for a minute. Hold still. There. Just want to look at you. There we go. He's cool. £28, a Milton original. Mega angry old male. There we go. Lummy ragged, that one. Superb old carp. Thank you, mate. Hello. Have a look at you. Oh. Lovely fish, isn't it? Cracking old Milton Common. Number 5 of the trip. Lovely. Let's get her back. Just gonna get these scales.
The real highlight of that trip was that first linear. That was the first carp I'd caught since I'd lost old Jim. And after talking to Chris, the fishery owner, and some of the syndicate members, I got to name that carp after the old dog. So that fish is now called Jim's Linear, which is a lovely tribute to the old fella, and something I'm really chuffed about. So that leads me nicely on now to, you know, the actual filming trip for Sticky. That went so well. That little bit of prior planning and preparation and what have you. You know, these things always lead to good things, and that film, like, wow, incredibly chuffed about that. It went ever so well, but that's something for you guys for next year, sort of thing. So I'm not gonna dwell on it too much. What I will dwell on is my plans for the coming autumn. So as I mentioned before, I had this ticket burning hole in my pocket, and I'd done a few trips over the past year to Wazin, and my main plan was to fish various different waters throughout the year, and Wazin was all about the autumn for me. So with September looming, I was making my kit preparations and getting some bait sorted and what have you, and really looking forward to that first revisit to the old estate lake up there. And yeah, shot up there. It's my favourite time of year. September, harvest moons looming. Really exciting time to be out on the bank. And that first trip, I remember driving through those gates, and the lake was quiet. It had atmosphere, it had everything that I wanted. You could angle properly, you could move around and really sort of make the most of the little opportunities that presented themselves. And you know, it's a big story for another day, but the end of that trip, the last night of that trip, I received a take off a single rod fished into a tiny bay, and I landed the king of the lake, the big common, the one they call the Oxley's common. So wow, that really sort of, that was autumn done in a nutshell for me. You know, that was the best start that you could possibly have. And I drove away from that session with on a real high, you know, really fired up for what the future held. And you know, for me, as I said before, I'd sort of planned to fish different waters this year and move about and work with what I was presented with. I wanted to fish, you know, the quietest sort of places, and you know, essentially stay away from what I considered to be a bit of a rat race, you know. And in the back of my mind, driving home after that trip, was like I couldn't get out of my head like the potential for slipping back onto Milton and making the most of the rest of the autumn for these lovely old carp and the few fish that I still hadn't caught, some lovely old originals, and also for the real exciting prospect of doing some time back on that little no publicity pit again, you know. So I had a plan, and there was one more thing that I had to do before I could sort of get on with my own like you know, fishing for the rest of the year, and that was an autumn film for thinking anglers. And there was, again, only one place in my mind that I wanted to go and I knew fitted the bill perfectly, and that was a lovely little pit up in Cambridge. I hadn't been up there for a good while, well over a year. So as with all of these things, you know, and I've reiterated it a few times in this film, prior planning and good preparation can often lead to really good results. And with these films, you know, we don't have priority over anybody, we don't rope swims off, any of that sort of nonsense. So, you know, it's down to you to make the effort to make them count, make them work. And the week before we were due to film, I decided I'd shoot back up there, see how the land lie, see what the weed situation was, what the fish were up to, have a little bit of a recce, you know, a good reconnaissance trip, and hopefully, if it was quiet enough, get a little bit of bait in, just to give me something to work with the following week. With that reconnaissance trip done, the filming trip the following week couldn't have gone any better. It really was just like the autumns of old. You know, a big feed up, coinciding with a harvest moon, beautiful weather conditions, lovely old carp. But again, that's something for you guys to look forward to, a little project that we'll be releasing next year. But what that did do was then free me up for my own personal fishing once again. And there was only one place on my mind. I was going to go straight back to Milton and try and, you know, see out the rest of that autumn phase, fishing for these lovely old carp back in my own home territory. And yeah, that went better than could ever have been expected. those Milton trips late autumn were something else. You know, I really enjoyed them. Caught some really cool carp. But like with everything, you know, things dry up a little bit, and in the back of my mind, I just knew I had to get back onto the little pit. That's where my fishing's going to be, you know, moving forward. That's going to receive my full sort of attention. And we're now in, you know, mid to late December. Christmas is just round the corner, and we're just about to drop this big chunk of footage on the unsung heroes, the old editors, to hopefully get out for you, something for them to work on up until their Christmas holidays. So by the time you see this, Christmas will be well underway, festivities in full flow. I hope you all have a really good Christmas. I've had a great season. I'll see you sometime in the new year.